So Chris, I'll open it up to you. I know you had sent a question in and you're here today, so I'll go ahead and let you pose that to the group.
All right. Well, I was wondering if other chapters have a shared calendar uh, that shows all the committee meetings, board meetings, and also DEI holidays that meetings should not occur at. And if you do have that shared calendar for the board members, committee chairs, how did you implement it and how is it going?
I don't know that anyone has that yet. Chris, I know
Okay.
that some chapters do have a calendar that they put committee meetings and board meetings that they incorporate into their website calendars. And I also know a couple of our chapters, and maybe Emily might be able to speak to this a little bit, have an overall shared calendar between, the chapters that are all in one area or one state together. And I wonder if what they use might be something to utilize with that. So Emily, Crystal, do you have anything?
Yeah, I can actually speak to that. Hi, everybody. California has been doing a calendar as a state for quite some time. They have 8 chapters, so a little bit different than your situation, Chris. But they use Google Google Docs, and only the people that they want to have access to it have access to it. So it's just for the executive director. So if things move, it's not like the members are seeing it. So I could envision something like that with your committee chairs and just pre-populating it with all the holidays. I don't know if Google does that automatically. Somebody else sets that up. One of the CEDs in California sets it up. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, good. We did start a Google shared calendar, and at our board meeting next week, we're going to announce how it's going. But we're running into with our 9 committees and our board meetings, and then the DEI like over Passover. We've had to shift around our fall 2024 because it occurred during a religious holiday. So we're trying to really hold strong to this. We're getting pushback from committee chairs saying what days work, what days don't. So we're hoping that this resolves some of those issues. And we'll just make sure that staff updates it and then just have committee chairs and board members. But if you guys do have any other suggestions, shoot them to me.
Are you thinking about giving your committee chairs access to that as well? You're thinking about giving all of them access? Yeah.
To view, not update.
Okay. So. Okay. Maybe just have some sort of requirement for them to submit their dates to you by a certain time or something, so that you can get those populated in there too, make that kind of a part of the expectations and the process, so that because if you don't know about their dates, you can't enter them in, right? So just making sure that they buy into that. But that sounds like you're on the right track with the Google Calendar. So, and it's hard, like Crystal said, with 8 chapters in Florida too, it makes it hard to kind of, schedule, because the big events, we don't want to schedule on top of each other. So we're kind of, juggling and managing that as well. But Chris, you bring up a really good point about the religious holidays and things, and making those type of holidays, making sure that you avoid those. If you're not, like, that's so important for members, and I would encourage you to try to do that. We've found ourselves where we've scheduled things on, really important dates, and then we have to backtrack, and that's really no fun. So, I would encourage you all to kind of think about that as we're getting better about that as well. I won't say that we've arrived, but Chris, thank you for kind of setting that bar for us to really think about that.
It's definitely making people feel uncomfortable in some of our committees and chairs, and it's just that's the way we can change. So, and I also realized yesterday we had a Minnesota education seminar overlapping with a CAI homeowner one, of which now I guess our CAI Minnesota staff knows to look at the homeowner leader because that was something that they weren't getting notifications on or aware of. So we need to incorporate nationals into our calendar as well. So because we
Yeah.
had people that wanting to be on both of them, but
Yeah.
that's an ongoing struggle.
It's a lot of dates to shuffle. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And Alicia did just mention really quick, there is a checkbox that you can have Google include holidays.
Oh.
So you can check that box. Go ahead, Chris.
I do have one more item, and I was at the Minnesota State Legislature today because we're trying to get an advocacy day or a day at the Capitol in the next year, not this year, but so myself and another person went there today under a different organization, and it was awesome to get their information, go to the Capitol. I'm curious if other chapters are going to the Capitol, like a day at the Capitol, sit down, have an education, and then go meet with your representatives.
Kathy, I'm not sure if you can come off mute. I know Illinois just did a day at the Capitol. I don't know if you were, how involved you were with that process.
Yeah, actually, we just had our lobby day, and it was pretty great because we did it on the day our governor was delivering his budget address. And some people kind of thought that was a crazy day to do it, but it worked out really great. Our lobbyist had set up a number of appointments for us, and we were running back and forth between buildings all day. It was a really great and effective day, and we had meetings back to back with senators and representatives all day. And then the day was completed with a dinner where we invited just as many to dinner, and not all of them showed, but it was still a really great turnout. And yeah, it was really effective. We were trying to talk to them about the importance and significance of reserve studies as an option. So, but it was great. It was such an amazing day. It was just so great to be a part of it. It was my first time doing anything like that.
And
I know,
do you have one staff member that kind of prepares everything?
Well, I guess the advantage for us is that we have a lobbyist here in Illinois that kind of works for us down there in Springfield, our capital. And so he arranged all the meetings for us. And so basically he was our guide throughout the entire day, and had set up all the meetings. And then our CED went with us, and yeah, I mean, we printed off some materials, but our lobbyist basically had set the meetings and kind of showed us around and ran us around. So
yeah,
we
and
were fortunate to have that.
I will say too, I know Phoebe from our government and public affairs team, she came in for the event as well. So definitely for the first time around, that's something that our government and public affairs team can help provide some guidance on, if there's some things or resources to make sure that you have or that you're providing to them. And then if possible, they'll come and also attend the event with you to have kind of that other level of representation as well. So definitely make sure that you're including them in conversations or reaching out, and they can definitely help provide some guidance there too.
I would
Kelly,
also say just one other quick thing. I don't know. Not one of our meetings lasted. I mean, some of them, they gave us a little bit more time than we thought they would allow, but these were like little short 15, maybe 20 minutes at most. Because they had to move on to other things. So we were very fortunate to get these like little 10, 15, 20-minute blocks of time with them. And depending on the size of the group, not everyone was able to go into their office. It just kind of depended on how many they could accommodate, or what that particular senator or representative was comfortable with, type of thing. So it was helpful for us to have someone who kind of knew the lay of the land. But, you know, again, like Kelly said, when you have someone like, you know, Phoebe or whatever that has some experience with that, they can kind of probably help navigate some of those waters for you.
So just a kind of a question. So Kelly, we would go through our LAC committee, which is who we should, and they'll work with our, because we do have somebody at the Capitol, a lobbyist, and we'll probably have to partner with like the Real Estate Journal or something local just to get enough people and then mass market it to homeowners. That's what we're trying to do to get homeowner positive feedback as well. But going through the LAC, is that the right way to do it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And
Thanks for
so,
the feedback on that too, Kathy.
Yeah, we partnered with our, you know, our ILAC committee, and I, as a board member, yeah, we partnered with them to go down and, you know, they did the talking and we basically were there to be supportive as numbers. I mean, we did some talking and stuff, but you know, they're the lead committee on this type of thing, but it was just good to be there in numbers. And for us as a board, we always felt like there was a disconnect and not quite understanding or knowing exactly what was going on with our LAC committee and the lobbyist and everything. And so it was really great to be a part of that process and to partner with them in this endeavor. And it was a really just super positive day. So
I'm so glad you said that, Kathy, because I was going to kind of touch on that with ours in Florida. So we do 2 days at the Capitol in Florida during committee week. So, you know, not during session because that's a little crazy and busy and things move so quickly, but during committee weeks we go. And it's been really cool because our board of directors for our chapters have come and they get to see what the LAC does. They get to build that relationship and it helps them get plugged in. So it's been really, really great for that. Chris, yes, I would definitely go through the LAC and maybe make it a partnership between the LAC and the chapter. You know, hey, you help us set up the meetings, we'll bring the people, you know, type thing. That I'd be glad to talk with you too about what we've done in Florida. We've done in person. We've also done virtual visits during session as well, which have been very, very important. If you've never taken a group to the Capitol before, like the first thing that we did was just introduce them to CAI, who we are, and let them know that we're there as a resource, as the resource for community associations in the state. And so that's kind of the approach we took. And then it kind of gave us leverage and voice to go in when there were issues, you know, and bills going on. It kind of gave us that backing because we had first introduced ourselves to them. So again, really great experience. I have some super big takeaways, you know, and learning experiences that we've had that I'd be glad to share. But I'm actually the administrator for our Florida LAC. So it's a big undertaking. It's a lot, no matter how many people you take, because you're setting up all these meetings, you know, it's definitely a big undertaking. So just think about that going into as well.
Great. All right. So does anyone else have anything specific to bring to the group for today? So you guys are all a couple months in now. You probably had at least a meeting or two. How is it going running the show? Do you feel good about it? Do you feel comfortable? Is there anything that has been a challenge for you in this first quarter of the year? Go ahead, Kathy.
I guess for me, it's just balancing, you know, everything, work and the responsibilities and planning and everything that I want to accomplish and laying the groundwork for the year to come. You know, so much to do, so little time. I guess the advantage that I have here in Illinois is that good, bad, or otherwise, I only have one new board member. Everyone on my board is a returning board member. So we don't have to spend too much time bringing everyone up to speed and with orientations and things of that nature. We're gonna do a little bit of that at our meeting next week. But even the new member, he's been around CAI for a long time and things like that. So I don't think we'll need to spend a whole lot of time on that sort of stuff. And oh, by the way, I think I asked at our last meeting about an icebreaker thing. And again, that was sort of a weird thing because again, everyone kind of knows each other, but I did one anyway, and I found kind of came up with one of my own based off of some ideas that I saw through Google searches. And it was kind of an interesting thing where it was like you pick up your phone and you look at it. And I asked everyone to look at all the different apps on their phone. And I said, now you only get to keep 3 of them. So you got to delete all the rest. If you could only keep 3 apps on your phone, which 3 would you keep? And it was kind of an interesting thing to hear what people's responses would be, which 3 apps they would absolutely have to keep and that they couldn't live without. So that was sort of a fun little thing that we did, and it was interesting to hear the responses. And no one said they had to keep Facebook or any of those other social media ones. I was kind of surprised to hear that, but it was fun. It was a little fun activity, and even though you do know each other in a group, anytime you do one of these exercises, you get to know each other just a little bit more. So it is still kind of fun to always do something like that, but it was just a fun thing. So it was something different.
Absolutely. Now, my question for you, Kathy, is did you learn about an app that you didn't know about that you feel like you need to get and start engaging with?
I was surprised that one person said, and he's one of our new board members, it struck me as funny. There's an app that he said that he has on his phone that reminds him to change the filters, like on his refrigerator and all of these different things in his house. He would not be able to live without that one. That one kind of struck me as kind of interesting. Couldn't I was surprised that one person, no, I never would have suspected, but he could not live without a sports app. And he just never struck me as a guy who was that into sports. But I guess I didn't learn of anything that I needed to investigate or that I didn't have. But it was a fun little activity, something to kind of get into, you know. And then I segue after that into something that I had come across, an app actually that
Oh, I think we're losing Kathy. While we see if we can get Kathy back, Jennifer, you made an interesting comment. Can I remove the phone app feature? And I think a lot of us feel that way. When I was just thinking about my top 3, the phone was definitely not included in any of the lists at all. So it's interesting to hear others say that as well. Chris, I know you came off mute. Did you want to share anything?
Well, I was just going to say the amount of work to competently be the president is a bit more. I kind of figured it was going to be 10 or so hours a week, but it's been ranging more than that. So, and it might be just because of our aggressive growth pattern that we're trying to achieve this year. So with that said, we're going to try to increase the amount of staff, or at least the percentage of staff. You know Cindy, so we're going to try to get her on full time, or more,
Mhm.
to help with everything. But yeah, it's been taking a lot, and it's a choice thing, as we're all volunteers, or the some of us are volunteers. It's a choice, and I'm choosing to do it. So like going to the Capitol today for a half a day was fun, but it takes time. So
Absolutely. Are others feeling that too, that the amount of time that you're spending on kind of the chapter or president responsibilities are a little bit more than you expected? Yeah.
I
Go
think
ahead, Melinda.
so. I definitely, I think that I did not anticipate that it would be as much as it has ended up being. But you know, for us, we did reach and surpass our 500 membership goal since I became president, which was really exciting. And we're in the process of implementing a CRM for the very first time. So it's definitely all of that, and then everything else. It's definitely been a lot.
Absolutely. Lots of stuff going on with all of it and growth and everything. So that's great to hear. And that's good to hear. Jennifer mentioned in the chat that she's got a great board behind her. And I think that's always very helpful too, when you've got a lot of people who are willing to put in the work and the hours and be there and have good discussions and everything. Having a good board in place is definitely beneficial when you're when you're the president. It's helpful a lot for sure. We do have a question. Melinda, you mentioned you're implementing a new CRM. Could you share what you decided to go with?
We decided to go with wild apricot,
Mhm.
and which is something that I wasn't familiar with. I've implemented my fair share of CRMs in the restoration industry and in other industries. I worked as a wine manager for about 10 years, so I implemented, you know, there as well. But it affords us the ability to have everything linked to the website, which will be fantastic. One of the things that we had struggled with, or that had been, you know, an issue in the past, is making sure that the managers who were attending, you know, they would call up and just say sort of, you know, hey, I would like to know how many CEs I have, that sort of thing. And basically what the system will do is once they're registered and once they scan in with a QR code at registration, our CED will be able to go in and just download a report for them that will tell them how much they have, which will be really exciting. It'll also automate a lot of the, you know, just the emails and things like that. So as the CED is preparing for events, she'll be able to go in and have these very specific templates, which she will then be able to, you know, sort of do a copy paste and then just automate them so that everything will go out when it needs to the membership.
Yeah, we have quite a few chapters on the Wild Apricot
Okay.
platform that seem to like it very well. So if you are struggling, or if you have your staff that's struggling with any of the areas, please let us know, because we can connect you with any of those chapters who are on that same platform as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You will probably hear from me.
Great.
And Zinzi's on here, but Northeast Florida uses wild apricot too. So,
Very nice. Do you like it?
right, Zinzi, don't use wild apricot.
Yeah, we've been using it for a few years now, and I know that when we lost our CED at the end of last year, so I kind of stepped into like the acting CED role, so I really got very familiar with it. YouTube has a lot of videos, how-to videos, and it'll walk you step by step on how to do everything.
I love that.
The other thing too, and I'm searching for the link right now, which is kind of why I'm looking off at my other screen. Another great feature that Wild Apricot has is they've got a resources area, and they have a blog with information. They do webinars around the non-for-profit industry. So again, how to be a better board member. It's not just about their system. It's literally about how to grow membership through an email, and tips and tricks, maybe buzzwords, or how to use Instagram better. So I've attended a couple of their webinars, and I've looked at their blog a little bit. Oh, thanks, Emily, for posting that there. So just kind of, if you're interested, you can sign up to be a part of their contacts as well. And they'll send you marketing materials around that, just to provide another avenue of different type of education.
That's
Because you
wonderful.
all have so much time to keep learning, right?
I like information, and I like, to know and to understand, especially since it's something that's going to be, hopefully will live long after I'm gone, for the board members and for, I feel like it's just something that as we've grown, it's something that we've really needed. And, I feel very lucky that they entrusted me to help them choose.
That's great. Speaking of this first quarter, I know several of the chapters have had their trade shows already, or they're about to have a trade show. How do you think that that's going? Are you seeing the attendance that you expected? Are you surprised by anything that's taking place?
Ours is a week from tomorrow.
Yeah. Do you feel like attendance is pretty strong so far
We
in
sell
this
out every
process?
year.
Okay.
Every year we from the vendor, or the business partner side, and then the attendee side, it sells out every single year. We actually had to move to a bigger space, I think it was 2 years ago, because we just couldn't house everyone.
Chris, you're kind of almost reaching
Oh.
that dilemma, right? Of
Yes.
you've also maximized your space. It's a great space. But again, kind of figuring out when's that right time to make that move to something different.
Exactly. And thanks for coming out to the show and the dinner with our presenter. We had a national speaker come out, so that was awesome. But yeah, we're actually looking at, yesterday there was a meeting about other hotels in the Twin Cities and what they could accommodate, just because the growth. We've got a lot of growth.
Which is, again, a good problem to have. But that's a great reminder. Thank you, Chris. That if you are looking for speakers, please let us know. We can assist with sending out someone from our headquarters team or our board of trustees, or anyone, if there's a specific topic that you're looking for and want outside of the local presence, we can definitely send somebody. With Chris, it was around designations. So Anne Marie Johnson, she came out and spoke about all the different credentials and designations, and were able to ask a lot of very specific questions that some people had. So I think it was a great session. I know Anne Marie loves doing that sort of thing. Pretty much all of our staff loves to come out and visit with the chapters and be a part of it as possible. So again, if you're looking for something, keep us in mind, and we can definitely see if we can get something to work out for that. Okay. So we're coming up into conference, and one of the things that you all know, because you attended last year, is our president-elect training. So I just wanted to throw out to you, knowing that you had gone through this already, if there's anything that you would like us to make sure is communicated, or to focus on during that training.
For the president-elects, right?
For the
Kelly,
president-elects,
so making
yes.
sure, like, is there something you would have loved to have known, or is there something we talked about last year that you're like, you have to cover that? We would love to know those things, like Kelly said.
It was so long ago at this point, I feel like.
Well, our president-elect was asking about that just the last time I talked to him, and I said it was really good. It's some of the side stuff that kind of, you guys do a good job redirecting people, but some chapters are just, they need some help, it seems like, and that could be a sidebar once they start going down that path of questions, maybe saying, hey, let's have a one-on-one outside of this, just because it wasn't beneficial for probably the majority of people. But everything else was good. The toolkits, everything was good new knowledge on that.
Great. is go ahead, Zane.
I would say, I think maybe emphasizing the toolkit on the national website, as well as these chapter or the sharing, because I remember hearing about it, but I didn't really I couldn't figure out where to find it sometimes. So I'm like, I know we talk about it and they say that all of our it'll be hung here, but I couldn't really remember where to go. So sometimes it's a little harder. It was harder for me to find it at first. Now
To
I'm
navigate it.
yeah.
Which I think we're gonna throw a little curveball at you. Since you guys are here, you get some inside baseball. One of the feedback pieces that we've been receiving for a while is to have that toolkit to be able to be searchable a little bit, to be able to find information a little bit easier. So Alicia on our team is actually working on revamping the toolkit within our exchange system. So that's the email group that you guys are a part of with the president and president-elects, and then also the general membership. And that will be able to make that feature searchable within there. So I think, again, with the toolkit, we're moving in the right direction with it, and hopefully it'll make it easier as well to find for some of you as well, because it will be built within that system instead of kind of buried behind some leadership pages that it currently is right now. But that's a great reminder as well, that if you have any really good documents or anything in place that you're doing that you would love to share for other chapters, please send them over. We're always taking different samples for things. And again, posting them up there. And if you do have questions, or if you're looking for something specific, remember we do have that president-elect exchange group that goes out to all of the chapters. So please feel free to use that if you're looking for sample documents or anything. Our CEDs do also have their own exchange. I probably sound like a broken record because I think I say this every single meeting, but they can also put that out there to collect that information too. Emily did put the link to our current toolkit into the chat with you. So if you wanted to take that to bookmark it, it is there in the chat.
One thing that I would say from last year that I just heard, I'm very fortunate in that I don't have this issue with our CED, but it seems like there was quite a bit of a struggle in not only retaining CEDs, but training CEDs, hiring CEDs. And I'd had quite a few conversations with, president-elects, and they were saying, we had someone and we had them for 3 months and they left, and we didn't really know where everything stood and that sort of thing. So I don't know if there's any, I mean, I know you have a lot of training options, but maybe talking about what that looks like if you lose a CED, if you need to replace one, if you're hiring one, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, that's great, because just again, to let all of you know, we can be as involved as you want us to be. So I know we've all done interviews, we've helped post job descriptions, save job descriptions, and then we do have a pretty robust onboarding process for the CEDs to make sure, again, a lot of them are not from the industry, they're nonprofit professionals. And so it's getting them into CAI, who our members are, kind of who our industry is, and really getting them familiar with CAI as a whole, along with getting them involved with the chapter and the ins and outs at that level. But that also brings up a good point of making sure that your chapter is set up for success, and kind of knowing some of what are the processes. If someone does lose somebody, what does that look like? Do we have access to all of the passwords and the email address and so forth? So just kind of putting that reminder out there, I think it is good. So thank you, Melinda.
Sure. And letting folks know that they can use you as a resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's forgotten sometimes in the moment of, oh no, what do we do now with that? So absolutely. Thank you. All right. What else do you guys have? All right. Well, don't want to hold you guys longer than needed. So I appreciate the great conversation today. For those of you that have trade shows coming up, good luck. Let us know how they go. I know we've got a couple of us on here that will be joining you at your trade shows. So it'll be great to see you outside of the screen. Chris, it was great to see you recently in person. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.